We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Hey guys! This is part 2 of What If Naruto is Completely Blind. Naruto has been keeping dangerous secrets for years. A long-forgotten dream that just won't die, an ally he shouldn't know and a friend no one thought he had, are what keep him going. Graduating is the least of his problems. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 5, C Rank. Where the crap is our sensei? Sasuke groaned, exasperation loosening his iron trap of a mouth. We had all but given up on our sensei ever being on time, but today Sasuke was more unnerved than usual because we weren't meeting in the usual spot. I was sitting with my back to the Kia Memorial with Sasuke pacing in front of me. Sakura was standing up against a tree, probably imagining the best ways to kill our sensei, from the tiny waves of killer intent she was learning to send out. I shuddered. Women are scary. I'm gonna go look for him, Sasuke decided abruptly. Naruto, stay put. Here's your sketchbook, don't do anything stupid, and don't move. His voice was quiet, I doubted Sakura had heard him. Ah, come on Sasuke, I'm not 3 years old, I complained, softly. I can find my way around, you know. It's not like I'm blind or anything. Yeah, whatever. He left, and Sakura followed him like the pining puppy dog she was, leaving me on my own. I stared blankly after them for a second, wondering if I should be offended, then shrugged and flipped my sketchbook open, tugging the pencil out of the spiral binding. Yeah, just because I'm blind doesn't mean I can't draw. Actually, I'm pretty damn good, according to Sasuke, but I think he's biased. I can roughly draw any face I can run my hands over, and pretty much anything else I can touch, like Mizuki's Demon Shuriken. And anything else that happens to pop into my head. I chewed on the end of my pencil for several seconds, letting my mind drift as I flipped through the book until I found a blank page, and then set the pencil down, starting to scribble almost straight away. In a few flicks I had started, drawing in the curve of a face I vaguely remembered from somewhere. I wasn't sure where, I didn't think, I just drew it. I only managed to finish the outline before I remembered another face and immediately sketched it beside the first, then going back to the eyes of the first one. It's not as hard as you'd think to draw blind, especially if you're me. My fingers are sensitive enough to tell where the pencil marks are on the paper. The pencil changes how the paper felt, raising the paper's texture slightly and making it feel slightly slippery. I just totally finished both of the first heads when a third one started out before I even realized what I was doing, and I pulled my pencil off the paper with a sigh. I'd been sitting here for at least half an hour, and now I was bored. I turned around a little, reaching back with one hand and reading out the first name that my fingers touched. Uchiha Obito, I mused. One of Sasuke's relatives. Who were you? Did you have a family, friends, people you left behind when you died? Do people mourn you? Does anyone still miss you? Did Sasuke know you? I put my pencil back to the paper and slowly drew in jerky spikes of hair, shading them in carefully. How did you die? Why did you die? Was it stupid, pointless? Or did it mean something? To you, or anyone else? I'm not sure why, but all three of the faces I'd just drawn were smiling. I smiled too. It was nice when my drawings smiled at me. The sad ones were creepy and the angry ones made me feel guilty, like it was my fault they were angry. Was it worth it? I asked the name on the memorial stone, running my fingers over the sketches. Oh, hey Kakashi-sensei, I said, having just noticed the man flickering in to stand over me. I drew in a pair of, were those things goggles? I frowned. My imagination scares me sometimes. This face's eyes were cheerful, bright, and all round hard to draw, but I think I managed it. I think. The goggles were shoved up to the top of his head, half over his forehead protector. Hey, all three of these guys had forehead protectors. All Konohan, too. Hey, Naruto, my sensei said, sounding faintly strangled. Oh, did Sasuke and Sakura find you? They sounded pretty mad when they left. No, that's not right. I erased the smirk my hand had been trying to draw and replaced it with a proper grin. That's better. Stupid drawings. May I see? he asked, and I shrugged and handed the book over. He seemed kind of stiff today. Did he have arthritis or something? Or was he just excited over something? I like these ones, I told him, tapping the page. They're all smiling, and that makes me happy. The bored ones make me bored and the smirky ones put me on edge. It's weird, I never know how they're going to turn out until I've already drawn them. It's like their faces just appear in my head and then I have to draw them like that and I can't change them, they have to be drawn like that. I was babbling, hoping he would say something. Seriously, he was almost as bad as Sasuke, and it was making me nervous. Eventually, after several minutes of staring at the sketchbook and me chattering randomly, he asked me, "Where did you see these people?" I shrugged again, relieved to have been cut off. I didn't. They just appeared in my head so I drew them while I was waiting for Sasuke to find you. So you were sitting here drawing for the last hour? Oh, drawing and talking to dead people, I said easily. Oh? Yeah, Uchiha Obito is really chatty. Kakashi dropped the sketchbook. Ah, man, did I get them wrong again? I complained. Sasuke said the last set looked like disfigured mutants. I was trying not to do that this time. Do you want to see the last lot? Man, they were nasty. No thank you, Kakashi-sensei managed. Sensei, are you okay? You sound kinda weird. There was a long pause in which I became anxious that I'd done something wrong, dropping my shoulders and blinking apprehensively. I'm fine, Kakashi eventually said, but we'd better go find your teammates. Oh, they're over there, I said, pointing vaguely northish with my pencil as I picked up the book and flipped it shut. I think they're lost. No, wait. Sakura thinks she's lost, and Sasuke's just coming back here. About time, team. I yelled the last sentence at the top of my lungs, and he shouted back, "Shut up, dobe." Kakashi-sensei is extremely hard to find. Sawyer. I managed it, and I'm not even allowed to move. I guess I'm just the world's greatest ninja. Laughter tickled at my throat, he was so easy to tease. Oh shut up, dobe, Sasuke grumbled as he fought his way out of a bush. I chuckled under my breath and bounced back to my feet. Whatever we were doing today couldn't be any worse than the park mission we did yesterday. How can I pick up litter if I can't even see where I'm going? Unless I tripped over it, which happened more often than I'd like to admit. Sasuke made me hold the bag, and the rubbish smelt really weird. Hi, kids, you'll never guess what sort of fun we'll have today. Well, Kakashi seemed to have recovered from whatever it was. It's incredible how he makes the word fun sound like a death threat, Sasuke commented quietly, coming up to stand beside me. To the mission's desk. Our sensei announced, making Sakura mutter under her breath as she came up behind us, "How old is he?" I just shrugged and followed our weird teacher. So, was it Tora the runaway cat or the evil triplets of doom today? Maybe the I forgot to weed the garden for 6 years and now the plants try to maim, kill and eat anyone they can reach mission. Man, was that one annoying. Thorns? What thorns? I don't see any thorns. Ow! I blinked as we walked into a room, the air abruptly becoming slightly stuffy and charged with the smell of sweat and bored people. Ah, the mission desk. Mental note, avoid this job at all costs. It must be boring as hell. Not to mention dangerous, when you were handing the entire ninja population missions that, as a rule, they didn't want to do. Maybe it would be the paint defense mission this time. I hoped not. I was tired of having to get drenched in turpentine because I always got covered in paint. Whose idea was it to make the stupid paints non-water soluble? Screw the rain. Oh, Kakashi, said the chunin at the desk. I thought I recognized him vaguely as someone called Kotetsu. Maybe. Or was it Izumo? Why did I know this guy's name? You've got a mission order from the Hokage. A C rank. Nice going, who'd you have to kill to get a C rank? He sounded bored out of his mind. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you, too, Kakashi-sensei said glibly, the parchment of the scroll rustling as he picked it up. Well, guys, looks like we get a C-rank mission. Finally! Sakura exclaimed. All those chores were so tiring, and we never even got to leave the village. I just blinked. Oh great! More stuff for me to trip over. Sasuke brushed the back of my hand and whispered, "We'll be fine." The parchment crackled as Kakashi unrolled our mission, apparently reading it over, as he didn't say anything aloud. Then he handed it to Sasuke, who handed it to me straight away and read it over my shoulder while I brushed my fingers over the kanji and hiragana, carefully reading the smooth tracks of ink. Mission rank, C. Mission type, escort mission. Client, Tazuna. Mission description, protect Tazuna on the way back to his home, the land of waves, and then for as long as it takes for him to complete the bridge he is building. I ran my fingers over the paper again, double-checking I hadn't missed anything, before handing the scroll back to our teacher. Sakura had been reading it from near Sasuke's elbow. Not a whole lot to go on, Sasuke muttered under his breath into my ear, and I shrugged slightly. Not meant to. It's just a C rank, not an A. Hey, why do you do that thing with your fingers? Sakura asked as Kakashi tucked the scroll into his pouch. Running them over the paper like that? Ah, so I don't lose my place. I said quickly. Ahaha, I have trouble reading in a straight line. I laughed sheepishly, rubbing the back of my head with one hand. Sakura snorted. You are such an idiot. Send in the client, Kotetsu/Izumo said to someone, and I heard the door begin to slide open, glancing at it automatically. My eyes widened and my shoulders dropped at the overpowering smell of sake, and I took a half step back, trying to hide behind Sasuke. He touched my shoulder questioningly and I choked out, smell, of alcohol, strong enough, to kill, small insects. I pinned my nose closed and instead listened to staggering footsteps that paused as soon as they entered the door. What, so I'm being guarded by a bunch of snot-nosed brats? Came the harsh voice that I assumed belonging to our client, followed by a sharp increase in the smell of alcohol. Great, a drunk. And you can't tell me the short one with the idiotic look on his face is a ninja. I sighed irritably. I knew I was the shortest, and I hadn't seen my own face in years, so for all I knew I did look stupid. In the shinobi world you shouldn't judge by looks alone, I growled. Don't dismiss us until you've seen us in action. I heard Kakashi breathe a faint sigh of relief, no doubt glad I hadn't attacked the client. The bridge builder just snorted, unimpressed, although I could sense the Chunin, Izumo, or was it Kotetsu, mentally raising an eyebrow. I sighed again, a little more quietly, and asked Kakashi-sensei, when are we leaving, and how long is this mission going to take? Kakashi drawled. This mission should take us about a week, so make sure you take enough supplies. We'll leave from the main gate of Konoha at, say, midday today. Don't be late. Then he vanished. I snorted. Now taking bets on how many hours late Kakashi-sensei will be. I'm not getting there, till 1, Sasuke commented dryly. Kakashi's log. Team was given C-rank mission, they weren't as excited as I thought they might be. Naruto seemed more nervous, and he's been somewhat subdued for the last couple of days. Sasuke appeared worried, and overall Sakura seemed the most pleased. When reading the scroll, Naruto ran his fingers over the parchment. When questioned he said that he had trouble reading in a straight line, but I have a feeling he's covering for something else. Earlier in the day I found Naruto waiting at the memorial, he was drawing in his sketchbook. It was a sketch of 3 faces, perfect copies of Sensei, Rin and Ibito. When I asked him where he saw them, he didn't know. Midday came and went. 1 o'clock came and went. Sasuke came but had to stay. He wanted to go, but sadly, we were stuck waiting for our lazy-ass sensei. He was really bored, but I had 2 new sketchbooks and my old one, too, so I made him sit still for a few minutes while I drew him. 2 o'clock came and went. When Kakashi finally showed up, Tazuna trailing behind him, I sensed him falter slightly when we came within eyeshot, and I glanced up at him, wondering if something was happening that I wasn't aware of. Sakura was leaning against the village wall, probably dead bored, and Sasuke was sitting cross-legged, one hand holding his head from drooping. I only knew that because I had decided to do a full sketch instead of just his face and checked his whole posture when Sakura wasn't looking. Hey, Kakashi-sensei. I said cheerfully, waving my pencil in the air. It's about time you got here. You're late. Sakura shouted, and I rolled my eyes and removed the pencil from my ear. Sorry, he said, not sounding sorry at all, but a black cat crossed my path, so I had to go the long way to avoid the bad luck. Are you a mouse, Kakashi-sensei? I asked interestedly, and that gave the lazy bastard pause. Pardon, Naruto, are you a mouse? I repeated. It's only bad luck when you see a black cat if you're a mouse. Or if the cat's a panther, Sasuke pointed out. What's a panther, again? I asked, frowning. You truly is idiot, 1. Big black cat. Likes eating humans or lazy jounin instructors. The Uchiha said, growling the last part at Kakashi. Kakashi just laughed at us, but he seemed slightly off balance. Us retorting back like that instead of just Sakura shouting was a little out of the ordinary. I half smiled and accepted Sasuke's hand up, dusting off my knees and tucking the sketchbook into an easily accessible pocket of my backpack. Can we go, already? The Uchiha sighed. The second we stepped out of the village, I felt a faint shiver run up my spine. I had never been out here before, not once. Every step was new, and every step I waited to stumble, to slip, to find something under my feet that I couldn't see. I was shivering faintly, and the pounding of my heart was starting to drown out the footsteps of my comrades. Sasuke's hand gently brushed my arm and I started slightly, before relaxing. Just focus on me, he said quietly. We can do this, Naruto. It'll be okay. I took a deep breath, forcing my heart rate to calm down, and focused on Sasuke's light footsteps, the soft brushing of the cloth of his shorts, and his hand running across tree bark at random intervals. We were walking on the edge of the trail, I realized. I fixed every step in my memory, every little dip in the road and the way the small stones under my feet shuttled underneath my ninja sandals, where every tree was as Sasuke brushed past. I was still shaking a little, though, a fact that our obnoxious client, who still stank of sake, seriously, dude, there's a new invention called soap, have you heard of it, was quick to pick up on. How can I be sure these brats will protect me? He complained loudly. The short one's already shaking in terror, and we've only just left the village. I jerked up my head to glare in his direction, and I sensed Sasuke doing the same thing. It's my first time outside of the village, okay? I growled, feeling defensive. I'm just a little nervous. I've never been out here before. I scuffed the ground with one foot, a little self-conscious. But what about the academy exercises where we left the village to practice? Sakura asked, sounding confused. I sighed, and Sasuke twitched slightly as well. Sakura, those need permission forms. I was never allowed to go on them, and even the small-scale ones that stayed inside the village were hard to get permission for. I shifted agilely around a pothole that Sasuke indicated with a foot tap, focusing intently on his footsteps. But why couldn't you just get your parents to sign them? She actually sounded confused. Ah, the joys of living a charmed life. I smiled bitterly, wondering what my life could have been like if I hadn't been orphaned at birth and given a heavy burden before I could even walk, let alone understand. It was Sasuke who answered her. Naruto doesn't have any parents, Sakura. They died a long time ago. He's an orphan like me. Oh. Sakura seemed to have realized she'd hit on a sore spot, and for about 10 minutes, we were able to walk in silence. I just focused on feet I couldn't see, just putting one foot in front of the other, hearing grit and dust shifting underneath our shoes as we walked. I blinked as Sakura's voice started up again. Excuse me, Tazuna-san. 2. You said you come from the land of waves? That is correct. What of it? Well, doesn't the land of waves have its own ninja village? Why do they need us? Actually, Sakura, the land of waves is a small island, Kakashi-sensei explained. Ninja are military strength, and with the natural protection of the ocean, they generally have no need for them. When they and other small countries like them need ninja, they usually hire from the nearest great shinobi nation. Huh, so, Konoha is one of those, right? Correct, Kakashi said agreeably. Konoha, of the land of fire, Suna, of the land of wind, Kyumo, of the land of lightning, Kiri, of the land of water, and Iwa, of the land of earth, are the 5 great shinobi nations. There are other hidden villages as well, but those are the 5 best known. What are some of the others? Sakura continued to pursue the subject, and I restricted a sigh. What a know-it-all. There's Kusa, to the northwest of us, I found myself saying, still looking at the backs of Sasuke's feet, and Taki, straight north. There's Bird Country to the west, although I don't know if their village is still in action or not. Aim is to the west as well, but not as far as Bird, and there's supposed to be a Yukigekure in the far north in the land of snow, but my map might be out of date. That place has been kinda in a civil war for the last few years. Dunno what's happening there. I sensed everyone turning to look at me, even Sasuke. What? I growled. I might be an idiot, but I do like to know what's going on around me. It's nothing, Naruto, Kakashi said as he turned back around. I simply wasn't aware you knew that much on our surrounding countries. I shrugged and kept walking. I like maps, I muttered. Then I continued, barely aware I was still speaking. Wave is too small a country to either need or support a ninja village. It would have to band together with most of its surrounding islands to manage it, like the water country did at one stage. That is correct, Kakashi-sensei agreed. So whenever Wave needs missions done, they go to a nearby village. Aside from that, and in general day-to-day working, they do without. So if there are other ninja villages out there, does that mean we could end up fighting other ninja, from a different country? The girl asked. Kakashi chuckled lightly. No, Sakura, at least, not on a C rank. On a B rank or A rank, absolutely, but on a simple C rank like this one, we don't have to worry about anything more than bandits and thugs, petty thieves. We won't be encountering anyone with ninja training on this mission. My nose twitched as I caught a familiar scent, fear, tinged vaguely with guilt. I tugged lightly on the back of Sasuke's shirt, whispering, "Something smells funny," and let my sightless eyes slide towards the bridge builder momentarily. This guy's hiding something, he doesn't smell right. Sasuke tensed the muscles nearest my hand in reply and muttered, "Civilians." Translation: civilians just don't know how to hide their secrets. Evidently, he was getting visual signals that agreed with my sense of smell. I tugged again, silently asking what we should do, and he shrugged, making the cloth pull at my hand, then tapped my fingers lightly. Translation: ignore it for now, but don't forget about it. We may find something later that'll make more sense. I shrugged myself and let go of his shirt, content to walk on in silence, or as close to silence as we could get. Our sensei was humming something absently under his breath. I would have been curious, but considering his choice of reading material, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. We were maybe an hour out of Konoha. Man, was I sick of Kakashi-sensei's humming by then, when I stumbled slightly, my left foot landing in a puddle. Ack! I yelped, then glared at Sasuke. He chuckled, and I scowled, kicking the water in his direction, and it was his turn to yelp. Naruto, that's cold. And wet. And muddy. I hooted with laughter, incredibly amused by his response. You really are a genius, team. You worked out that puddles are wet, cold and muddy. I splashed him again and frowned a little, asking, "Feel that?" And this time, I wasn't talking about the temperature. Can you sense the chakra? Chakra in water, what could it mean? Naruto. How could I not? Sasuke yowled, skipping away, but he landed ready for combat, a tapping in his feet letting me know his recognition. Yes, I sense it. What, can't handle a little water? I teased as I leaped out of the puddle of chakra and trotted back towards the group, Kakashi-sensei ending up behind me, my heart beginning to race. Are you ready for this? Che! As if, dobe. I can handle it fine. Sasuke scoffed. Bring it on. I felt the flare of chakra and started turning almost straight away, hearing at least two bodies springing into the air into attack stances. Kakashi-sensei suddenly yelped, and there was a horrible sound of something being shredded through sheer force, and a quick flicker of chakra that felt like a kawarimi. Sakura screamed, and Sasuke flinched. I frowned, barely hearing one of the two foes' whispers of one down, and computing it to mean Kakashi-sensei was out of action. Then they were moving again, two vague flickers on the edge of my consciousness outlined by blurs of chakra and sound. A weapon, was it wire? No, too bulky for that, whistling between them, and I drew two kunai, my heart pounding and adrenaline rushing as I frantically tried to track the pair. My ears were too slow, they were so fast. I flinched back from the clanking of, was that chain, and held my weapons in the only plausible block. I couldn't see the weapon, I couldn't see its target, all I could do was hope. Then there was a clash and a cracking shink, and I heard a shuriken bury itself into a nearby tree, closely followed by a kunai, and as the clank of metal on metal followed, plus an abrupt halting to the two shadows' movements, my mind raced to catch up. Wire, chain, tied together, wrap, razor sharp, pinned, kunai, Sasuke, 2, Kakashi, chain, 2, linked. There was a snap as the chain was unhooked from our adversaries, and I let out a yelp and dodged a blow I had only just sensed in time, feeling metal blades tug briefly at my hair before cutting straight through the strands. I sprang back, trying to block the oncoming blow with my kunai, getting a scratch on the back of my hand for the attempt, and as the pain jolted me my concentration dropped. Suddenly, all I could hear was my heartbeat, blood rushing past my ears, adrenaline pounding, my breath impossibly loud and harsh. I could feel my heartbeat in every inch of skin, pulsing with fear and excitement, and was completely lost in an instant. I couldn't hear Sasuke, I couldn't hear Kakashi, I couldn't hear my opponent's swing, everything was gone, I was trapped in a dark void, there was nothing here, I was trapped, there was nothing. I wheezed as a foot, a fist, a knife pressure, nothing, everything, pain, force I hadn't known was coming slammed me just below the ribcage, forcing all of the air out of my lungs and sending me flying. My back connected with the rough bark of a tree and the sheer force snapped my head back, cracking it against the trunk with a painful smack. I couldn't do anything more than let my body crumple forwards, barely dragging a knee up in time to stop me doing a faceplant into the dirt, and as I vaguely sensed my opponent rushing me, I waited until the last second, before letting myself collapse sideways in a desperate attempt to dodge him. Crumpled in the dust, I barely comprehended Kakashi-sensei throwing his already captive foe at mine, knocking them both over, and then grabbing the pair of them. The danger over, Sasuke was at my side in an instant, gently brushing his fingers across my arms and face, asking near frantically, "Naruto, are you okay? You didn't get knocked out, did you, or were you cut? Are you okay? Come on, speak to me." I mumbled weakly, but my head is killing me. Wah! I didn't need to expand on the blurry half-question, as my best friend whispered rapidly, so that no one but me could hear him. "Two attackers ripped Kakashi-sensei apart with a chain weapon at the start, then headed for you. You were trying to block them but you were positioned wrong. I pinned the chain to a tree, the two of them undid it, and while one attacked you the other went straight for the client, Sakura, and I distracted him. Then Kakashi turned up again, I think he used a kawarimi. And grabbed him, bowled your guy over with him, and now he's interrogating them." I nodded, then put up my hand, letting Sasuke pull me to my feet. "So, the demon brothers Elah missed, huh?" Our sensei said, and I turned my head towards his voice instinctively. "Why would you two lowlife chunin be attacking a genin team, HM? Surely you're not stupid enough to pick a fight with a jounin?" Sasuke and I walked over, stopping a healthy distance from our sensei and his captives. "Ah, Naruto, I'm sorry for not intervening sooner. I didn't mean for you to get hurt, but I wasn't expecting you to freeze up like that." "Ouch," I said sarcastically, even though that had actually stung. My head was rapidly clearing as I healed up, and thinking was no longer a painful chore. "This is my first actual combat, sensei, gimme a break. What about our bell test?" The jounin reminded me, prodding at one of the two demon brothers. "That doesn't count," Sasuke piped up, unexpectedly, in Kakashi's slight twitch of the foot, scraping the ground. "Yeah," I agreed firmly. "You wouldn't actually try to kill us, no matter what you say, Kakashi-sensei, you're too lazy, and I'll bet there's too much paperwork involved." I derived no small amount of sadistic pleasure in the unmistakable shudder that elicited, and Sasuke's fingers touched my bicep lightly, letting me know that he was amused as well. "Naruto, you're bleeding." Sakura yelped slightly. "Ha! Well, fancy that." I touched my fingers to the gash on the back of my hand. "I'm bleeding. How odd." Note the sarcasm. "Naruto, you are aware that these chunin like to coat their weapons in poisons?" Kakashi-sensei told me. "We're going to have to get that treated, and soon." "Che," I grumbled. "All this fuss over one cut." I considered briefly, then sighed and slashed it open with the kunai I still had in my palm, rolling my eyes at the girls' and the civilians' yelps. It didn't hurt that much, it had missed all the major nerve clusters. "There, it can bleed out now. Can we get a move on?" Sasuke silently passed me a bandage. In a minute, Kakashi said, sounding very much like a parent attempting to shoo off their children so they could do something useful for a change. One of his two captives was now speaking, and I listened vaguely while wrapping gauze around my hand. "Seriously, it wasn't that bad. Fuzzball would deal with it in about 10 minutes flat. I probably wouldn't even notice the poison." "How did you read our movements?" Kakashi-sensei snorted. "Please. In a dry area, where it hasn't rained for weeks, there isn't going to be a puddle. Naruto stepped in it, it's not like it was difficult to notice." I grinned sheepishly. "They were hiding in the puddle, I think," Sasuke breathed into my ear. "Explains the chakra saturation." I nodded slightly. "If you knew they were there, then why let yourself get killed and let the brats fight?" Tazuna groused. "I wanted to know if they had finally gone off the deep end and attacked Konoha Ninja, or if they were after you," Kakashi-sensei explained, his voice all too cheerful. "Which, Tazuna-san, they were. One of them went straight for you, and so did the other, although he had to get through Naruto first. But, it stands to obvious reason that you were their target." And we didn't know that there were shinobi after you. Sasuke nodded, his knuckles brushing my shoulder to let me know he was agreeing. This mission just went up in difficulty, it's a B-rank assignment. We're operating outside our mission parameters, Kakashi said flatly. We should go back to Konoha, we were only hired to protect you from thieves, not ninja. I tugged on Sasuke's shirt again. What the crap does parameters mean? I'll explain in a minute, he growled, sounding irritated, only I heard the amused exasperation in his voice. Of course I wouldn't know what that word meant. We should head back, Sakura agreed quickly. We're not ready for a mission like this, and Naruto's already hurt. We should go back. I scowled. It's not that bad, damn it. And we've already started the mission. We've already said we'll do this. I'm not about to back out now. What kind of ninja would we be if we quit at the first sign of trouble? Sasuke let that vaguely ominous question hang over their heads for a few seconds before saying, he has a point. We handled ourselves well enough against the Chunin, and no one was badly hurt. And even if things get bad, Kakashi's a jounin. He can handle whatever we genin can't. There was a pause of several seconds, Kakashi apparently absorbing our words, before Tazuna spoke up again, filling the air with sake-saturated breath. I covered my nose. I have a confession to make about the mission. It's most likely, yes, rated above a C-rank mission. As it turns out, there's a pretty dangerous guy after my head, and I guess he decided that sending ninja after me was the best course of action. I tugged lightly on Sasuke's shirt. Why would they bother sending ninja after this guy? Sure, he's a grouchy old coot, but that's no reason to kill him. Sasuke tugged back, sharply, just listen, they're still talking. Who is this dangerous guy who's after you? Kakashi asked, getting to the point in his usual blunt way. Tazuna paused, hesitating, the fear smell rising and mingling with the sake, before he sighed. You've probably heard of him before. The wealthy shipping magnate, a man named Gato. What? Gato is after you? Kakashi asked, sounding shocked. I frowned, his name had come up a lot in some of my research ventures into the ANBU vaults. What was that file on again? From the Gato company? He's said be among the world's most wealthy people. I think he's third from the top, I said aloud, then flinched as they all turned to me. I really needed to watch my mouth. Something like that. Tazuna sounded slightly impatient, but at the same time, very tired. Officially, he runs a large shipping company, a very successful company, too. But secretly he sells drugs and other illegal items, using ninja, thugs, and gang members to take over businesses, drug rings and even small countries. He is a very nasty man. The old man shook his head slightly, dirty-sounding hair flopping against his face. About a year ago he set his sights on the land of waves. Through money and violence he quickly took control of our shipping industry, and Gato now has a complete monopoly on all the business traffic in the country. The bridge I'm building is seen as threatening to this man, as it would undermine his control, so he wants to get rid of me before it's finished. This bridge is our only hope, the last light on our horizon. If I die, that light goes out, and Wave's hope is lost forever. So those Kiri missing mean they were hired by Gato? Sasuke asked. Kiri? I didn't know these guys were from Mist. I mean, I guess they were, but I wasn't sure. Thank you, Sasuke, that could have been embarrassing. Tazuna didn't answer him, but Kakashi spoke out instead, and I turned my head in his direction as he said, what I don't understand is, if you knew ninja would be after you, why did you hide that fact when you hired us? Good question. Thanks to Gato and his shipping company, Wave is incredibly poor. Even our feudal lord has basically no money, we've got nothing but dirt left. We were barely able to scrape together enough for a C-rank mission, let alone a more expensive B-rank. Well, the old man continued. I guess it was wrong to lie to you, so you have every right to turn back. If you quit the mission now, I will be definitely killed, but don't worry about it. He grinned. If I die, my cute 10-year-old grandson will just cry for a few days, nothing too bad. Oh yeah, and my daughter will live a sad life hating the Leaf Village forever. But it won't be your fault. No, not at all. I rolled my eyes, and Sasuke stifled a snort. But Kakashi seemed to have slumped at the sound of Tazuna's speech. Well, the Jounin murmured, I guess we have no choice. We'll protect you at least until we get back to your country. It figures you'd be a sucker for sob stories, Kakashi-sensei, I sighed. This just got a whole lot more difficult, didn't it? Kakashi's log. I had a feeling this wasn't going to be as easy as we first thought. Turns out the bridge builder, Tazuna, lied to us about the mission difficulty. His country has been taken over by Gatu of Gata Shipping, and his bridge is threatening to break his control. Obviously, the man doesn't want that, so we've got ninja attacking us now. First encounter was with two Mist Chunin, the demon brothers, Mizu and Gozu, I believe their names are. It was Naruto who first noticed the puddle they were using as a genjutsu cover, although I'm not certain if he actually sensed it or was just playing around. Neither he nor Sasuke seemed surprised when they got attacked a few seconds later, though. The genin handled themselves fairly well in the ensuing fight, although Naruto froze up a little and managed to score himself a cut or two, and a possible mild concussion. Sasuke defended him fairly well against the pair of Kiri-nin, and no one was badly injured. The nin's target was, obviously, our client, but he was unharmed in the skirmish. Naruto was the only one who was hurt at all. In spite of the obvious trouble this would be, both of the boys refused to turn back when told the mission was out of their expertise, even Naruto, who had been acting incredibly nervy since the start of the mission. Note, has he really never been out of the village before? In a discussion on the ninja villages, Naruto had moderately detailed, for his level, knowledge on the nearby hidden villages, and also of their current states. He even knew about Yuki, but was unsure of their status due to civil war. Second note, it should probably be investigated how he knows this. He has been showing startling knowledge on various subjects all month, and it's starting to creep me out. Third note, Naruto sketches a lot. He was sketching again when I joined the team at the gates, although I didn't see what he was drawing. This is going to be a pain, isn't it? Chapter 6, S rank. WTF equals. I was bored. Bored. Damn, you didn't come much border than this. And border isn't even a word. But I was so bored I didn't care. I shouldn't be bored, I realized. I should be terrified out of my wits, anxious, nervy, twitchy, anxious. I already said that one. But I was none of them. I was bored. There was seriously only so long I could keep going, focusing on Sasuke's feet, before my mind started to get sidetracked. And now, I was bored. Have I mentioned that I was bored? I could hear water lapping at the edges of rocks like an eager puppy out of the toilet, but it was still faint. We were a good way off yet. I sighed mentally, and tilted my head back, stretching my neck. To an observer I was staring at the sky, and I wondered wistfully what shade of blue the sky was today, what shapes the clouds moved in, how the trees moved in the breeze. All things I'd never appreciated when I could still see, and meant the world to me now that I couldn't. My chest had started to ache again, and I let my gaze fall back to ground silently. What color was the grass here? Green, the thick green of Konoha summers, yellow of dry dead things, or a color I didn't know, hadn't understood when I was too young to understand. The pressure on my chest was tightening painfully, and I took a harsh breath and forced my thoughts to blank out, refocusing to my ears instead of far-off memories and dusty corners of my imagination. The waves were louder now, rushing across sand and stones and dashing themselves to pieces against the rocks of the shore. I could smell the sharp tang of salt and the duller undertone of leather, muffled by human sweat and general presence. The sound of the ocean was almost deafening, coupled with creaking wood, wind gusting, the coarse squawk of a seabird. I froze. The waves were rushing violently past my ears, their noise impossibly loud. I couldn't hear anything but the ocean as it thrashed, fighting its own currents and whipped into a frenzy by the rushing winds. Water exploding so close, tearing itself apart, filling my ears with sound and my mouth with salt and drowning my mind. Sasuke? I raised my voice, the sound cracking slightly with anxiety as I realized I could hardly even hear my own voice. Sasuke. A hand brushed my arm, but I didn't jerk with surprise, relaxing at the touch. I recognized Sasuke's skin. I turned my head in his direction and forced my mind to focus on his pattern, remembering his voice, his smell, everything about him that was ingrained into my memory. Naruto, are you alright? His voice swam into my consciousness and I relaxed further, relieved. I could hear him again. The sound of the ocean was fading, and the overwhelming salty smell had gone back to being a vague scent and taste at the edge of my mind. Are you okay? Naruto, what's wrong? Sorry, I managed to say quietly. The ocean, it's so loud, it overpowered me for a minute. Sasuke, I couldn't hear anything, it was like there was nothing there. I couldn't hear you or any of the others at all. It's okay, he said quietly, calmly, and I relaxed even further, because even if it wasn't, Sasuke would make it alright. Just stay close to me, and it'll be okay. Sorry, I should have realized how loud it was. I blinked and shook my head. No, it was my fault, I muttered. I got distracted. Sasuke rubbed my arm with his knuckles, then took hold of my wrist, gently tugging me back towards the others. I'd gotten a little turned around in my panic attack. It's okay, he repeated. It's okay. Kakashi was no doubt giving me a funny look as Sasuke led me back to the group, but I didn't care. I was still shaking slightly, the lingering fear of the void tugging at the edges of my mind and threatening to pull me under again, and I flinched as Sasuke made to let go of my arm. He steadied his grip, catching the wince, and rubbed my skin with his thumb. It's okay, he said again. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I nodded unsteadily, trying to keep my breathing even and focusing on Sasuke's own breathing, and the faint pulse I could hear and feel through his hand. Still shivering slightly, I looked down at a path I couldn't see and gritted my teeth, refusing to make a sound and ignoring Sakura's questions. Kakashi soon decided that I wasn't going to be helpful in answering some of his WTF questions and simply started us walking again. I trotted tamely on Sasuke's heels, staying close enough that I could feel his body heat even though he hadn't let go of my hand yet, letting the familiarity slowly calm me down. Then we got to the boat. Oh hell no. Well, at least I wasn't bored anymore. I let one hand trail through the icy cold water of the lake, water slapping against the side of the boat, sounding loud but still muffled by the fog Sasuke said was blurring out the whole area. Cold liquid skimmed my fingers, my other hand clinging nervously to Sasuke's sleeve as the boat slid almost silently through the water. I was still shivering slightly, but it was hidden in my outsized clothes, and only Sasuke knew how unnerved I still was. Not needing the visual signals other people did to tell moods or feelings, I tended not to make them unless I actually thought about it, hence, it was often hard for other people to tell what I felt at any particular time. At least, that's what Sasuke said. There was a sharp intake of breath from my right, and I glanced at Sasuke questioningly, pricking my ears for any danger, but there was nothing but the ripples of the water and the sound of the pole moving the boat. No more breathing sources than there should be. I mentally shrugged and was about to dismiss it altogether when Sakura gasped and hissed, "Wow, it's huge. That is incredible. What is?" I asked blankly, then ducked, letting Sakura's fist swish harmlessly overhead. I was just asking, sheesh. No need to hit me. Sakura sniffed irritably. The bridge, you idiot. Oh, so that's what that thing is. Something up ahead of us had almost entirely blocked off what little airflow there was. I had been wondering what it was. I dodged another blow for my comment, hiding a smile. So predictable. Although it was probably a good thing she put enough power behind her punches for me to not want to get hit. The air deadened around me and I went still, listening to a sudden slew of echoing water ripples, made nervous by the sudden confusing void. Sasuke breathed into my ear, "We're going through a tunnel, an arch under a bridge or something." No worries. I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding as the breeze stirred slightly against my skin again, 30 blank seconds later, and the echoes vanished as the tunnel opened out onto open water. Wood tapped wood as the prow of the boat bumped against a wooden jetty, and I heard our oarsman say quietly, "This is it for me, I'm not risking Gata's wrath any more than I already have." Good luck, Tazuna. Sasuke stood up carefully, putting his feet firmly on the jetty and making the wood clatter slightly under his sandals. I followed immediately, not letting go of his sleeve, and was unspeakably relieved to feel wood under my feet and not empty air or freezing water. I felt a little nauseous. To my confusion, had I upset myself enough to make myself ill? Kakashi-sensei and Sakura exited the small craft quickly, and the man helped Tazuna step out as well. There was a soft splash as the boat pulled away from the shore, and I listened to the sound of the oarsman's fading breathing and heart rate until it disappeared altogether. We were in the land of waves, enemy territory. If it hadn't been serious before, this mission was definitely serious by now. As we walked down the pebbly trail, the small rocks crunching under our sandals, I kept one hand of Sasuke's arm, focusing on blocking out the sound of the ocean but still listening to our surroundings. It was harder than I expected, and it took me several seconds to realize that there was another set of vital signs, human vital signs, nearby, probably hidden from the view of the others. I couldn't sense any chakra, not even the life support of a civilian, which meant he was hiding it. At least from me. Kakashi-sensei could probably sense it where I couldn't. I wasn't that good with this sensing thing yet. Then his chakra flickered into existence in my mind, just a little, his position shifting with a brush of grass, and I hurled a kunai at him instantly. The chakra flashed, a kawarimi, and I whipped around, a second kunai already headed for his landing position. A second flash, and I cursed, too slow. He'd substituted again and was out of range now. Then I had to duck and fend off my female teammate, who was less than pleased. Naruto. What do you think you're doing? You scared me. What kind of ninja are you that a kunai thrown by a teammate no less can scare you? I snarled, angrily shoving my weapons back into their pouch. There was some scratching and rustling from the shrubbery, and I assumed Sakura was going to see what I had been aiming at. Don't bother, I missed, I told her sharply. He got away. I was too slow. Damn, Kawarimi was annoying. Useful as hell, but annoying when used against you. Naruto. Sakura shouted, making me sigh. What now? You nearly hit this poor rabbit. I frowned in confusion. No sensible rabbit would be as close to a human as that would have had to be for my kunai to have any chance of hitting it. He must have used it as his substitution, I guessed, less suspicious than a random log, and less chakra flare than a shunshin. Not to mention faster. I noted the skill in a corner of my mind, baring my teeth as Kakashi-sensei lectured me, Naruto, kunai are sharp. Be careful where you throw them. There was someone there. I hissed to Sasuke, clenching and unclenching my fists. They were there, they Kawarimi-ed out before I could hit them. Don't lecture me on chakra sensing, he was hiding it until he needed to dodge. And don't try to give me crap about the rabbit either, I can tell a human heartbeat from a goddamn rodent's. I degenerated into mental fuming. I had better ears than anyone here, except maybe Kakashi, and he hadn't even sensed the guy. But no one would care about a mere genin's opinion, let alone the dead last's. I believe you, Sasuke said quietly, interrupting my mental ranting. I blinked, then relaxed slightly. It always made me feel better, every time I was reminded that I wasn't actually alone, that there was someone on my side. Every time I was reminded of reality. Any clues on identity? I shook my head slightly, my lips pursing in frustration. Sorry. The shreds of chakra I got weren't familiar, and not enough for a proper scan. I'm out of my depth. Then I heard the sound of something huge slicing through the air, the coiling flicker that translated to spinning, a shift in Kakashi-sensei's breathing. I yelped as Sasuke grabbed me and dragged me down, the sound freezing in my throat as I heard a blade that had to be at least 4 feet long slash into the tree behind us, carving straight through the bark and jamming deep in the heartwood. I was frozen. If Sasuke hadn't grabbed me, that sword, it went deep, way deep, into wood of all things, it would have gone straight through me. Well, said a cold voice from higher up, tree, suspended, climb, jump, I guess some of the hype about you is true, copycat Kakashi. I shook myself and swallowed, gritting my teeth for the coming fight. The blood was starting to pound in my ears, making it just that little bit harder to hear, and I forced myself to focus. Well, said Kakashi-sensei lightly. If it isn't Momochi Zabuza, the kid who ran off and left the land of mist. I filed the name quickly, trying to sense out the still hidden chakra to get an identity lock on the guy, but he was still shielding it entirely, like a void in my senses, where there should have been energy. This could be a little rough, Sensei mused under his breath, and I let my eyes flicker over to him for just a second. Zabuza, the man was called, spoke up again, his voice icy cold, slightly grating, taut with some unidentified emotion. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, would you surrender the old man? Fear? Anger? Excitement? Is he some kind of an idiot? I asked blankly under my breath. Sasuke snorted faintly. Then I flinched as the enemy unshielded his chakra slowly, building up a sense of power that I guessed was supposed to intimidate us. As it built up speed, I decided he was doing a very good job of it. Kakashi-sensei shifted. I can't say how, exactly, but he just shifted. Something changed, maybe in how he stood, or in his voice, or maybe his chakra, but something was different. Assume the Manji battle formation, he ordered crisply, taking a step forwards. Stay out of this fight. He's way out of your league. Believe me, Sensei, I'm working that out on my own, I whispered almost silently. A low, cool chuckle. Ah, to face the legendary Sharingan so soon in our acquaintance, this certainly is an honor. I bared my teeth silently, making a mental note to ask Sasuke what was happening later on. This wasn't making a whole lot of sense to me, and I really needed a visual. Or at least a description of the situation. Anything would do. When I was an assassin for Kirigakure, our opponent continued to speak. Not needing further prompting, I possessed the usual bingo book, a kind of who's who of our enemies. It had a rather extensive write-up of you, including a mention of your impressive record. The man who copied over 1,000 jutsu, known as Kakashi, the copy ninja. I blinked twice quickly, anxiously wondering what we were going to do. Sensei said to stay out of the fight. Enough, Zabuza announced, drawing my attention back to where his cold, unnervingly amused voice was coming from. Pleasant as this conversation has been, I'm on a tight schedule to finish off the old man. All three of us genin sprang into ready positions beside Tazuna, whose heartbeat was just skyrocketed. I didn't blame him, and found myself wishing that I had my damn shock tags working properly. Flash and bang was all very well, but I had a nasty suspicion we'd need a lot more firepower in a fight like this one. Kakashi of the Sharingan, the master of 1,000 jutsu, the elite of the Konohagakure village. It looks like I'll have to go through you first. There was a loud crack and a flare of chakra, and I swung my head to the right as the follow-up Shunshin flicker appeared, and a split second later my teammates gasped as they followed the same motion. Is he walking on water? Sakura gasped, and I frowned in confusion. How could that be possible? That chakra buildup, is it concentrated, in his? Then there was a flare of unfamiliar feeling chakra, no, felt once before, and the air grew colder. Water? The finest of the ninja arts. The Kirigakure no Jutsu. Hidden in the mist, Kiri, cold, water. I get it now, he's calling up mist. But, what for? He's gone. Sakura shouted. Aha! That's what. He'll come after me first, Kakashi-sensei warned, his voice cool and clipped. Momochi Zabuza was a member of Kirigakure's assassin corps, a famous master of the art of silent killing. Letting your guard down around him buys you a direct trip to heaven. I haven't necessarily mastered my Sharingan, so all of you stay on your toes. I swallowed anxiously. Believe me, sensei, I haven't been off my toes since we left the village. The mist was brushing distractingly against my skin, wisps of cold air heavy with water sending tingling shocks over my flesh, and the musty scent and taste of fog was damping my senses. The breathing and heartbeats of the others, their life signs, quieted as if they'd moved away, but when I reached out, I could touch Sasuke's shoulder. I gulped, and braced myself. If Sensei was right, and there was no reason for him not to be, we were in a whole lot of trouble. There are 8 targets. I jerked back a step, then turned my head swiftly, trying to pinpoint where the sound was coming from. What was that? My female teammate yelped. The fog was muffling everything, making it hard for me to hear what was happening, and the voice of our newest enemy was echoing disturbingly from all over the place, making me sense flashes of solid structures where I already knew there was nothing. Throat, spinal column, lungs, liver, jugular vein, subclavian artery, kidney, heart. So many choices, what vital, vulnerable place shall I choose? I swallowed again nervously, hands gripping my kunai until the tendons ached, searching in the muffled environment and trying to ignore the heavy, choking air, the feeling of breathing water, the thick smell and taste, the distracting whispers against my skin, my hands, my legs, my neck, my face. Killer intent was flooding the air, but I ignored it, the bloodlust constantly leaking from my mindscape rising against the challenge. I wasn't fazed, I'm used to KI, and was more interested in pinpointing the Kiri bastard. Sakura was shaking, Tazuna's heartbeat about 4 times too fast, Sasuke's breathing coming in short, harsh gasps, but he was okay. Killer intent didn't bother him as much as it used to. Kakashi-sensei's breathing was normal if blurred by distance, but where was his heartbeat? Don't worry, guys, his voice called out, thin and tinny through the mist. Even if he gets me, I'll still protect you. No matter what, I will never let my comrades die. That's all well and good, but it's very hard to protect someone when you're dead, sensei, I thought grimly. Chakra flared, and I felt my eyes widen slightly as Zabuza materialized directly behind me. Game over. Another chakra flash, this one from sensei, and suddenly I was being thrown away in an abrupt flash of energy that left me reeling and a splatter of water, but no one had landed near the water, and why could I still not hear sensei's heartbeat? That flicker. Sensei behind you. I bellowed, pushing myself onto one knee. Splash! I heard a sword swinging and Sakura screamed, promptly followed by another splash, then flicker. Don't move. Sensei was fast, very fast to be able to flicker like that, but before, water clone? Felt right, like normal bunshin, with a Kiri tinge, a bit of water jutsu and Kage bunshin mixed in. Game over. Heat substituted, shun shined, bunshin in there somewhere. I hadn't quite sensed through the mist, that I now realized was faintly imbued with chakra, enough to mess with my senses, explains the tingles, the water. The fight was over so quickly. Zabuza started to chuckle darkly, and I pulled myself all the way to my feet, suddenly edgy. You think it's over? I edged towards where I hoped, Sasuke was. I don't anymore, you lunatic. You just don't get it. It'll take more to beat me than just copying me like a monkey. I don't know, it seems to be working fairly well thus far. The assassin laughed again. But you're good, I'll give you that. In those few precious seconds, you copied my water clone technique. Water clone, I guessed right. And by making your clone say the same sappy shit you'd say yourself, you made sure it had my full attention, while you used the Kirigakure technique of hiding in the mist, observing me. Too bad for you. My breath caught in my throat, another chakra flicker. I am not that easy to fool. I heard the keen whistle of Zabuza's massive blade cutting the air, a brushing swish as it missed Kaka-sensei by a millimeter, a crack, a clattering crunch, then a heavy thump and sensei was moving, fast. And as my mind rapidly connected the violent sequence, I knew it wasn't under his own volition. There was a loud, painful splash, and my head jerked automatically in its direction, noting Zabuza's disdainful snort with some anxiety. I couldn't hear sensei's breathing. Was it the distance? Was he still underwater, knocked out, drowning? A splash, and an audible gasp. He'd broken the surface, and I flinched as Zabuza flickered away, to stand over Kakashi-sensei. This just got very bad. Gullible fool. Suetun, Suiro no Jutsu. A massive rippling splash made me scowl furiously, both nervous of the watery sound and of the fact that I couldn't see what was going on. Zabuza laughed, the sound sending chills down my spine as I stared anxiously in the adult's direction, wondering what the hell was going on. This prison is inescapable. You're trapped. Shit. You running around makes it difficult for me to do what I'm paid for, Zabuza said flippantly, talking more to Kakashi-sensei than us, I think. I'll finish you later, after I've dealt with the others. I swallowed and went stiff, resisting any and all instinct to panic. Sakura was shaking slightly and Sasuke was tense. Our client behind us was trembling like a leaf. Che. Civilians. Zabuza's chakra flickered slightly, the essence that I was starting to recognize as a water clone jutsu attracting my attention with a rushing of water. The Kiri-nin, he is Kiri, right, started to speak again, or at least it was his voice, but it was the water clone talking. Little ninja wannabes, trying so hard, even wearing a leaf hitayate. But a true ninja is one who has crossed and recrossed the barrier between the lands of the living and the dead. I frowned slightly. What did that mean, exactly? That a ninja was the deliverer of souls to the death god? I'd heard that before, but this didn't seem to quite fit it. More like, a ninja had to brave danger and stand on death's doorstep to have true strength. Low, growling laughter rang in my mind, and I wondered grimly where that would leave me. A headband doesn't make you a ninja. You need skills good enough to rate a listing in my bingo book before you deserve to be called a ninja. We don't call your kind ninja. We call them. He flickered out and I yelped, swinging up my arms to block and almost not getting there in time as chakra flared panically through my coils. The clone's foot slammed powerfully against my forearms and I was flung backwards with the force, rolling over and over dizzyingly through the dust, my headband clattering on the floor nearby, one end wrapped loosely around my wrist. Brats! My teammates were shouting surprise, fear, loud sharp fear as I scrambled to my feet, gasping for the air that had been forced out of my lungs. This was very bad. I let my eyes flicker uselessly over the battlefield as my mind put all the broken pieces together. Sensei, captured. Zabuza, the boiling chakra in my senses, edged with nothingness. Mizu Bunshin, a glint of fluid chakra. The curve of the lake lapping the shore. My teammates. The civilian. Sasuke. A slow smile worked its way onto my face as I tied my hitayate firmly around my head again. If we could get this to work, if I wasn't overestimating my skill, we would survive this. Sasuke, I spoke up, palming a couple of sheets of paper. I think I've got something. I quickly muttered an abbreviated explanation and slipped him the bundle, already beginning to shift and move surreptitiously to the side, inhaling slowly and focusing. "Guys, what are you doing?" Kakashi-sensei shouted, his words slightly muffled, like he was underwater. This was over as soon as I got caught. "Get Tazuna out of here. You three can't face up to Zabuza. Theoretically, 3 genin can take down a jounin," Sasuke said determinedly. There was a clank kunai and a rustle of dirt as he shifted his heels for better grip, getting ready. "You don't understand," Kakashi thundered, and I fought not to jerk and attract attention. Slow, steady and natural, drawing myself inward. I was a part of the shifting wind, fading from existence. Zabuza is a Kiri ninja. They're nothing like what you've fought before. Run for it. There was a hitch in Sasuke's muffled breathing as I slid a few more feet away through the heavy, tingling mist. Mist? Yeah, wasn't there something whacked out about Kiri's training system? "Those who break the rules are trash, those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash," Sasuke quoted, his voice becoming tinny and wavering as I moved silently, inconspicuously around the shore as the distance between us increased. "Hypocrite. We're not leaving you behind." I nearly flinched again as an irregular, jerking noise wound its way through the foggy air to my ears. Zabuza was laughing. I took a slow breath, only releasing the whisper of air when the wind stirred around me, the sound masked by the faint breeze. Laughter was bad. "You guys will never grow up," he sneered, and I scowled at the threat. "Going to keep on playing ninja? I warn you now that when I was your age, my hands were already dyed red with the blood of the dead." I sensed the Mizu Bunshin fluid curve chakra move, and then clack clack crash whoosh and the chakra folded in on itself and slid away, reassembling a few meters away from Sasuke, a few meters closer to me. "Get out of here." Kakashi's voice was thin and barely there, and there was soft cold freezing water lapping my toes, but I didn't react, didn't flinch, not entirely there. "Nothing here, don't look here, I'm not here, nothing here." His voice took on the quality of a storyteller in spite of the situation. Long ago, in the Mist Village, known as the Bloody Mist, there was a final obstacle to be overcome on your path to being a ninja. You even know about the graduation exam. That exam, like our Bunshin? No, it was worse than that, can't remember. Why does Sensei know? Village secrets, information. S-class. I'm forgetting something, I know I am, but just wait, just listen, hang on just a few more steps. What exam? Sakura chirped, her voice so far away and faltering. "The final exam, it was a fight to the death between the students," Zabuza answered. If I hadn't already been so deep I would have gasped, the information mixing with what I could remember and slotting in like a missing puzzle piece. Every village has its secrets, I thought, and shifted. Friends who have trained together, learned together and eaten at the same table for most of their lives are pitted against each other. They are forced to fight until one of them loses their life. His voice echoed around me, and I half paused, trying to judge the distance. These are friends who had helped each other, shared their hopes and dreams and their very lives. That's horrible. Sakura murmured, as if from very far away. 10 years ago, the graduation exam of Kirigakure was forced to change. Kakashi-sensei spoke now. This change occurred after the previous year, when a demon appeared. I blinked. Change? Sakura questioned aloud, when neither Sasuke nor I said anything to keep the conversation going. What change? What did this demon do? There was an unsettled pause of maybe 2 seconds. Without pause or hesitation, a young boy who was not even a ninja yet killed over 100 of the other students. Ah, those were the days. Zabuza sounded almost nostalgic, if not for the ki I was able to sense as I slowly came out of hiding. That was our daring friend Zabuza here. Kakashi-sensei continued, his voice ringing stronger in my mind. That's how he earned his nickname, the Demon of the Mist. Demon of the Mist, ha! The laughing chuckle echoing around me made my empty chest cavity reverberate with the force of it. This fool had best prepare to meet the Demon of the Leaf. I ignored the voice and braced myself, hoping Sasuke wasn't freezing up with the burning waves of killer intent and hoping the chakra-charged mist wasn't tipping me off my target with its buzzing hum. Then I heard the skimming whir of the massive shuriken Mizuki had once used and the chong as Zabuza caught it easily. At this distance I couldn't sense the blistering chakra, but I heard a faint susurrus gasp that I didn't think was natural. Water splashed, the tingle that was a tag going off and another a second or two later, a yelp of surprise, a rush of hot chakra and the fluid chakra vanished altogether. Another low chuckle, and I braced myself, focusing, waiting for the signal. You pathetic brats. Although I'll give you points for having the sense to aim for my real body. Shing, shrii. There. I threw and let the loop of wire spiral out as the kunai it was attached to flew wide, well away from the missing Nin, and I breathlessly counted, knowing that a second too late or too soon could kill us all. 3, 4. Now! The huff of the miniature fireballs running interference, the tiniest of charges spurting from my fingers, the kunai dropped and, there it was, the resistance, the swiping swing, and I pulled. The 3 wire-strung kunai Sasuke had thrown wide now swung towards me, guided by my own wire, pulling tight around the missing Nin we had purposely aimed to miss, and I grinned. Try dodging now, bastard. I threw round stones, the paper rasping under the fingers of my right hand as my left held tight to the loop of wire keeping Zabuza captive. I heard keening knives from Sasuke, holding the other end of our impromptu net, and Kakashi-sensei was shouting something made unintelligible by distance and echoes. Explosions, the repeated tingles of my tag self-combusting. I felt a tug on the wire and hurled my last stone, the directed tag leaving my hand a split second before the wire loosed. Zabuza had cut it. But pinned between 2 lines of attack and our struggling sensei, he had no choice but to bolt as our attack scraped past. Abruptly, the fight was out of our hands, as our sensei now attacked the missing Nin who'd been holding him prisoner. Broad flashes of chakra and clangs and cracks of contact, a swirl as they stopped and the chakra moved. They were talking, but I was too far away, and I began to shift again, moving back towards my teammates in case I was needed. Shouting, rushing, a single whisper of something. The void vanished. I blinked and jerked, startled, sensing Sasuke's rough heartbeat a few meters from me as the chakra-infused fog quieted slightly. The void that had been our enemy was gone. There had been a tiny flare of chakra, but nothing. I didn't even sense the low chakra you'd expect of someone dying or whatever, but I've never sensed that before, so I'm not the best person to be asking. Then, just like that, another vague void flared into existence near Sensei. I choked on a cry of shock, and Sasuke stiffened beside me, but then he relaxed, and I automatically quieted, trying to follow what was happening with senses still scrambled from the shifts. Time seemed to stretch and warp, and I shook myself a few times, trying to clear my senses and hear what was going on through the blurriness of my adrenaline rush. Naruto? Ha! I shook my head again, blinking rapidly as if it would disperse the mist that had fallen over my mind. Naruto, you okay? Sasuke was saying. Why yeah, I'm fine. I shook my head sharply, sending a tremor of pain through my neck, and everything snapped back into focus, time no longer distorting around me, and there were no chakra voids, just my team and the civilian and sensei. Although the weight of his chakra was still shifting, my senses must be unreliable, still shaken up. Thump. I blinked, my head tilted to where I was reasonably sure Sensei had just collapsed on the ground, his life signs feeling a little bit out, but definitely present. Sensei! Sakura gasped, her voice startling in its clarity. It's just chakra exhaustion, I think, Sasuke said, his chakra shifting and compressing ever so slightly as he knelt to check Kakashi-sensei's pulse. I think he just wore himself out. What was with that, the Mist Ninja? Sakura asked. A hunter Nin, Sensei said. Another ninja. The second void, it must have been, Zabuza, missing Nin, hunter Nin, Kiri must have been after him, caught up, we had some help. Aloud, I said absently, hunter Nin, they're a subsect of ANBU, aren't they? As I bobbed down beside my down teacher. Yeah, my friend was quick to confirm. Mists are the best known, but Konoha's got a division or two. Hey! Tazuna-san. How far have we got to go? I vaguely sensed the civilian startle. We need to rest, Sensei's not looking too good right now. Not far now, I heard the cracked voice of the old bridge builder ring out, far clearer than it should have been, and I realized abruptly that all of the chakra tingles of the mist had dissipated. Good. Naruto, can you give me a hand to carry this idiot? I nodded reactively, taking the weight that was leaned on me carefully and shaking my head again, trying to get rid of the soft growling at the back of my mind. Man, that was annoying. Why does this keep happening? A long while later, I was going over everything I remembered about the fight, trying to piece together a rather broken series of events. Getting dragged out of my shift like I had stuffed up my senses for far too long, making me uncertain of exactly what had been going on at the tail end of the fight. Had we even won? I mean, we were alive, but still. Sitting upright with my back against one wall of the room our team had been given, I waited until Sakura's breathing settled peacefully, indicating sleep, keeping a touch of my attention on Sensei warily in case he decided to wake up earlier than the Uchiha had guessed, before interrogating Sasuke. Okay, Sasuke, spill it, what happened today? I need everything, the mist screwed up my perception something bad. Did we win the fight? He snorted and I rolled my eyes. Shut up, did we win? Yeah, you remember the hunter Nin? I frowned. Only vaguely. I'm guessing we got help from one of Kiri's tracker ninja. That would definitely explain why we're alive. Okay, so Zabuza was babbling about the Sharingan at one point, that's your clan's jujitsu, right? Sasuke grunted, with a tone that indicated an affirmative. Kakashi-sensei is apparently known in the bingo books as Kakashi of the Sharingan or Copycat Kakashi, but you picked all that up already. I nodded swiftly, he seemed to want confirmation. Okay. At the start of the fight, Sensei pulled up his Hitai 8, and his left eye was a Sharingan eye, a high level, too, if I remember right. My eyebrows went up a little and I felt my mouth quirking slightly. Seriously, Ichen? The Sharingan, that's clan-specific, right? Your clan. Does that mean he's an Uchiha? My mind was whirling and clicking with thoughts, reeling them off almost faster than I could keep track of, and I zeroed in on Sasuke's reply. I don't know. I don't think so, wrong name, Hataku. Why would it only be in one eye but not the other anyway? I blinked, then bit the side of my cheek lightly in thought. Was there a scar or something in or over that eye, or even the other one, to indicate previous injury? Like a cut or something? Yeah, big scar over his left eye. Sasuke sounded vaguely surprised. You think maybe, he probably got his original eye slashed out by that injury, I explained, and the Sharingan was donated by someone else, a teammate, a friend, or something. I don't know exactly why that would happen, but, man, I really need to track down Sensei's files. And, if his other eye had been hurt, it could have damaged the Sharingan. Sasuke guessed, and I nodded rapidly. Exactly. Either one could have been possible, ninja life isn't risk-free. Sasuke sighed, a rough gust of air. Speaking of which, should we set up a guard for the night? Maybe we took down Zabuza, but there might be others out there. I nodded grimly. Sounds like a plan. I'll take first watch, I'm not as tired as you are yet. I ignored the faint laughter only I could hear. Hey! Sensei's up. Erg. I'm severely wounded, Naruto, do you really feel the need to shout at me? I beamed, thrilled that our main source of information/security/protection was awake at last. I'm not shouting at you, Sensei, I'm shouting for you. Guys! He's awake. I feel hungover. Kakashi-sensei mumbled, almost silently. Well, that's what you get for using up all your chakra, I informed him cheerfully, hearing Sasuke's faint footsteps tapping the stairs, 1 2 3 4 5 skip automatically skipping the creaky one, as Sakura came up behind him. Sensei! You're awake! Sakura cried as she swung the door open. I wondered if I should be offended at her lack of trust in my observational skills, but decided it wasn't worth the effort. I was so worried. I mean, chakra exhaustion's really serious. If that hunter Nin hadn't come along we might not have made it. There was a pregnant, unexpected pause, and our teacher's mood seemed to darken as he shifted to sit up, a significant change in the air that made me look at him anxiously. Kakashi-sensei. What's wrong? The hunter Nin. Of course. Had he figured out whatever was bothering him? It didn't sound like good news, whatever it was. The shinobi hunters who manage corpse disposals are supposed to destroy the bodies of those they kill at once, right on the spot. Sakura was unmoved by this piece of information. So what? I couldn't say I was particularly impressed either, but I did agree with Sensei, something was ringing wrong about the whole situation. As I listened to him grimly explaining the so-called hunter Nin, Zabuza's false death and how we would have to be ready for anything, I sighed. Things are never simple, are they? The training schedule? It's amazing, the innocent things our sensei makes sound like death threats. Kakashi's log. I've been out of S-rank missions for a long time now. Suddenly running into an A-rank missing Nin with 3 green genin and a client to protect is not fun. On the plus side, my genin have definitely got some tactical skills I haven't seen them showing before, although their teamwork continues to astonish. Note, I have yet to see those academy reports. Must remember to check when we get back. On the minus side, they are all morons for not following orders and getting the hell out of there when I told them to. Also on the plus side, they took my warning when I first met them to heart. Although maybe that should be on the minus side. Note, definitely get Naruto's ears checked for hypersensitivity. He froze up when the ocean got too loud, apparently overpowering all his other senses. I can do that while we're in wave, fortunately. I have decided. I do not want a genin team. Ever. Ever. Again. Chapter 7, Nightmares. I blinked. Come again, tree climbing. Sensei sounded way too happy. There was something to this exercise that I hadn't gotten yet. But, Kakashi-sensei, we can already climb trees. Sakura's voice radiated confusion, her chakra signature, becoming familiar to my senses, rippled and twinged slightly. Is that confusion? Interesting, we learned that back in the academy. Or earlier, if you hung out with that monkey Kiba for any period of time, I commented under my breath. Sasuke snorted faintly, shifting near me with a rustle of cotton. Sensei didn't notice our exchange, continuing, but this time, we're going to learn how to climb trees without using our hands. I stared at him uncomprehendingly. Sasuke said, apprehensively, you know, I really ought to have expected him to start asking us to do the impossible. The blindfold incident should have tipped me off. Our teacher is insane. It's a chakra exercise, you maggot-ridden flesh bag of idiocy, came the unwelcome drawl. As Sensei continued, I'm hurt that you think I'd ask the impossible of my students, Sasuke. This is an exercise designed to help you maintain better control over your chakra. Watch and learn. I bit my tongue, focusing on my teacher's movements as he limped over to the nearest tree, and kept walking. I blinked, my head tilting as I followed his progress upwards, and mentally shrugged. He seemed to be climbing a tree. Man, if I could see what was going on, this would make so much more sense. Sakura made a choked noise and Sasuke shifted again, and now I knew I was missing something. I raised one eyebrow and let my mouth fall slightly open, mimicking a perplexed expression as I mumbled out the corner of my mouth to Sasuke, what the hell? The Uchiha didn't have a chance to answer straight away, as Sensei clarified his earlier explanation with, see? We're going to climb trees, without using our hands. I blinked, and suddenly my expression was real. The hell? Didn't he say that before? This is basically it, in a nutshell, Sensei admitted from where he was, Sasuke describing it to me in an undertone, hanging upside down from a tree branch, now sounding bored. Focus as much chakra as you can in the soles of your feet and use that power to cling to the trunk. When you have full control over your chakra, there's almost nothing you can't do. But, Kakashi-sensei, how will learning to climb trees this way make us any stronger? Sakura asked, her voice, loud and sharp, made me flinch. Our teacher sighed. I'm getting to that, listen and learn. The point of it all, the goal, is greater control over your chakra. A lot of the chakra you draw for jutsu is wasted, and you tire yourself out more quickly. This exercise will teach you better control so that you only use what you need for your techniques, and maximize the effectiveness of what you do use. Of course, this is made more difficult by the fact that the sole of your foot is one of the hardest places in the body to accurately focus your chakra. If you can master the chakra flow in your feet, you will be able to focus it anywhere. In theory, anyway. The last part was muttered very low, so I probably wasn't meant to hear it, but I rolled my eyes anyway. Of course, Sensei, because theory always works exactly as it should in practice and battle plans never randomly go wrong. So, chink chink clink, Sensei sounded gleefully cheerful. The best way to learn is by doing. The sheer whisper of split air, I took a step back and a kunai buried itself in the dirt near my feet. I'm not expecting you guys to make it all the way up the tree first time, so use these kunai to mark how high you get each time to remind yourself. A running start will probably give you enough momentum for a good first attempt. I shot a withering look in his direction, kneeling to pick up the kunai. Yeah, running headfirst at a tree sounds intelligent, Sasuke grumbled. Kakashi's clothes rustled, and there were twin thunks as he landed squarely on his crutches as he jumped down from his tree. Suit yourselves. I glanced at him as he started to move, the crutches making his steps uneven, and yelped as I smacked into a tree. Ow! Damn it, Dobe, watch where you're walking, Sasuke growled, and I hid the quirk at the edge of my mouth in a sneer. Shut the hell up, team. Within 3 minutes I lost count of how many times I hit the ground. The first attempt was nothing short of disastrous, too much chakra sending me skidding backwards before I could even get both feet off the ground. Several tries later, I managed to get the right amount of chakra to stick, only to discover my usual problem was interfering, my chakra's overactive tendency to waver, flare, and otherwise excitedly escape my control. Ow! A couple of steps, and my control would slip and send me flying. The repeated falling was enough to almost make me thankful I couldn't get very high, I admitted to myself where I was sprawled in the dirt for the nth time. At least this way I wouldn't break my neck. Idiot! Can't you do anything right? Do you need any help? Yeah, Naruto. You're totally hopeless. Sasuke's hidden concern I could deal with, but Sakura's obvious barbs were stupidly hurtful. I mean, I didn't even care what she thought. Shut up, the both of you, I snarled, dragging myself upright and shaking dirt out of my hair. Okay. Deep breath, and let's try this again. I drew my hands together in the ram seal first two straight left over right and pulled. Whispering fire boiled up, fizzing eagerly under my skin. Deep breath, and focus it in the feet. My shoes were starting to warm as I closed my eyes and carefully placed my foot on the tree. It stuck fast, and I stepped, and kept walking, not faltering at the two-step mark as I had been for the past half hour. The flicker of surprise was my undoing. An extra flash of chakra, I wobbled, and slipped, with a yelp realizing that I was probably high enough to hurt myself this time. I slammed the kunai sensei had given me into the bark, and stuck fast. From about 2 meters below my dangling feet, Kakashi sensei asked wonderingly, Naruto, are you afraid of heights? Both hands clinging to the kunai's handle, I peered downwards, trying to get my bearings enough to jump without breaking an ankle. It's not heights I'm afraid of, sensei, it's the ground. Sasuke sighed and thunked to the ground. Hang on, Dobe, I'll come get you. You're pathetic, but I'll come get you anyway. I saved him the trouble by falling out of the tree. 3 days later, I was making little headway with the stupid exercise, and my patience was rapidly waning. I was eyeing the tree disdainfully, trying to get my flickering chakra to quiet down so that I could take another shot at this, but I wasn't yet at the state of exhaustion where that was possible. Naruto, could I talk to you for a minute? I jumped in spite of myself. Sensei had managed to creep up on me, he was damn quiet at the best of times, and I was distracted anyway. Kakashi-sensei. Yes? What's wrong? Something of his clothing shifted, a shrug, a shift of weight. Nothing's wrong, Naruto. I just wanted to try something with you, see if I could figure something out. Okay. I tried uncertainly, confused and edgy. What had I done wrong this time? Okay. I need you to sit down and close your eyes. I shrugged and plunked down on the grass, shutting eyes that didn't work anyway and awaiting further instruction. Tell me what you can hear. Identify it if you can, and describe it if you can't. Biting my lip, I started to listen, opening my mind to the sounds I had been stubbornly ignoring all day long. There's a breeze right now, stirring the trees. Sasuke is practicing tree walking. No, he's falling out of his tree and using language that would get him thrown out of most bars. Ouch! Where is he? Kakashi-sensei asked, and I pulled an odd face. How the hell should I know what way I'm facing? He's that way, though, I added, pointing a little to the left. About 30, 40 meters away. Not much by way of animal life. Most of it fled the noisy children. Although there's a pair of birds, smallish, probably about the size of a pigeon, maybe 150 meters that away. I pointed behind me. Inari just slammed his bedroom door again, and the breeze is picking up, I think, that funny hissing sound, I think that's the grass. I think that skittering sound about 100 meters that way might be a mouse. Pretty dumb mouse, that's a cat over there, and there's a flight of maybe a dozen birds going over. I glanced up, forgetting that my eyes were closed. Geese, I think. And there's an owl maybe 50 feet from Sasuke that might be thinking about moving. Can you hear the ocean? Sensei, I said patiently, maybe you don't know this, but Wave is an island. That means it's a small landmass that's totally surrounded by water. That means the ocean is everywhere. It's a little faint that way, I might just be getting echoes from there and there, but I know it's about 300 meters that way. Oh, and Tsunami'll call us in for dinner soon. Right on cue, the young woman called, her voice made slightly tinny by distance, it's dinner time. Come and get it. I grinned and bounced to my feet, looking forward to food after wading through an annoying exercise and then dealing with my sensei turning weird on me again, but Kakashi-sensei asked me one last question before I could escape. How did you know she would be calling us in? Uncomfortably, I smiled. I heard her setting the table, I responded, and ran for the house. Kakashi's log. Sakura's control is above average, even for a kunoichi, possibly look into some Ijutsu or Genjutsu training for her in future. Her stamina, however, is atrocious. I had a word to her about dieting, but I don't think it got through. Darn hard-headed genin. I am now remembering why I didn't want to do this in this first place. Sasuke did about as well as predicted and is now improving steadily, however, he doesn't seem to be concentrating as well as he should, he appears to keep half an eye on Naruto most of the time. How long has this gone on for, and why? Needs further investigation, it makes no sense. He usually treats Naruto with utter contempt, he keeps pausing to tell Naruto off for not doing better. Naruto didn't appear to care much, either ignoring him or swearing at him. I may need to discourage this behavior, based on their temperaments, it could get violent. Naruto is still particularly wary of this exercise, although his lack of aptitude perhaps proves it to be a justified wariness. Note, is he actually afraid of heights? He's been rather jumpy since we left Konoha, and it seems to be getting worse. He snapped at his teammates earlier, although admittedly they were asking for it. He did seem to calm down a little as he practiced, but his chakra control is appalling, he fell and knocked himself out earlier. I also tested his hearing this afternoon, and I was right. He's hypersensitive to, as far as I can tell, all sound, he can hear almost everything within a 300-meter radius, on a relatively calm day, down to plates clanking in an indoor kitchen at least a quarter of a kilometer away and a mouse at several hundred feet. I don't think he knows this is unusual, he kept giving me funny looks while I was testing him. At this level of sensitivity, I wouldn't consider it strange for particular sounds to cause him pain or to be overly distracting, but I haven't noted anything aside from the ocean to cause him to reek. Ink splashed over the page, and I winced, dodging back from the splatter. Oops. Sorry, sensei, I hope that wasn't important, but anyway. Did I pass? Pass? My teacher sounded bemused. Naruto, it's not a test, it's exactly possible to fail. Did I pass? I repeated, tapping my plate. He sighed heavily. Yeah, you pass, your ears are hypersensitive, now go away. What test? Sasuke asked, his words slightly jumbled by whatever he had stuffed in his mouth at the time. I blinked at him, absently twirling my chopsticks in my hand and then dropping one of them. Damn. Sensei went a bit weird earlier when I was training, said he was testing me for something. What does hypersensitive mean? Che. Idiot. Sasuke's fingers drummed rapidly against the table. It means your hearing is generally far sharper than normal, and you're overly aware of sounds most of us never pay attention to. Some sounds that are normal to us would be painful to you. I think pitch has something to do with it as well, but I'm not exactly an expert in this area. Wow, Sasuke. I didn't know any of that. That's amazing. I flinched and clapped my hands over my ears, wishing briefly that I'd had the sense to sit further away from my squeal-prone fangirl of a teammate. Ah, Sakura, maybe you should tone it down a little, Sensei commented, his voice dampened by my protective hands. What? Why? What's wrong, Sensei? It was a testament to her observation skills, or lack thereof, I growled mentally, that Sakura didn't notice her teammate trying to escape her increasingly strident voice. Sasuke's feet tapped mine under the table as he shifted down the bench away from her. Make that teammates. I think your voice is hurting him, Kakashi-sensei was explaining, and I cringed, waiting for her to swat me and tell me off, at top volume, for being melodramatic. Instead there was a muffled murmur that I couldn't understand, and impulsively I pried one hand loose to listen, ready to clamp it back down at any second when she started shouting. I was surprised to hear a soft whisper. Does my voice actually hurt? Warily, I nodded, still ready to duck at a second's notice. Not all the time, I amended, after a moment's thought. Just when you get excited, or loud, your voice changes, and that hurts. Sakura let out a squeak and began to babble frantically. Oh, I'm sorry, really. I didn't know I really hurt you. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She was getting gradually more and more high-pitched, and I winced. Sakura, it's fine, just, don't shriek, or raise your voice. Just normal talking is fine. My female teammate was near hysterical with apologies to my total bemusement, but Sensei eventually managed to get her to calm down. Tsunami's kid, Inari, I think his name was, suddenly slammed one fist down on the table, understandably getting everyone's attention. I don't know why you're bothering, he snarled, but I'd heard scarier academy students. If you stand up to Gato, you'll only get yourselves killed. No one survives defying him. I tipped my head curiously at Sasuke, who audibly shrugged, before voicing the idle question, so you don't think we can do it? You think we should just forget the mission and go home? The kid made a noise that was a weird cross between a sneer and a choke that I'd never heard before. Better than ending up dead. I leaned back slightly, already losing interest in the argument, and nearly ruined my dignity by falling off my chair. You're pretty cynical for a kid, Sasuke observed, tapping my shin lightly under the table, and a faint tinge of disdainful amusement translated, nearly as bad as you. I surreptitiously stuck out my tongue at the Uchiha as Sakura commented, yeah, Sasuke-kun's right. Don't you believe in heroes, Inari? Another choking sound, although I recognized at this time hot thick can't breathe the kid was struggling with tears. Heroes don't exist. The brat snapped. They're just ordinary people and they die like everybody else, like you will unless you give up. He bolted up the stairs, the seventh one still creaked, and slammed a door. As an awkward, tense silence descended on the room, I heard sandaled feet clapping against the wood upstairs. Tsunami let out a ragged sigh. I'm sorry about Inari, the conversation died even before I silently escaped outside. I'd only get an hour or so before Sasuke dragged me back in, but that would still be an hour of undisturbed training that I sorely needed. A low, growling chuckle echoed. I frowned. Mostly undisturbed. Kakashi-sensei sighed behind me, and I heard the soft squidge, barely audible even through the still open door, as he started writing again. Why wasn't this in his medical file? If he had been properly tested this would be in there, and it's definitely serious enough for someone to have noticed. May need further investigation. 1 2 3 CRK thump. 1 2 3 4 5 CRK thump. Ow, I grumbled as I rolled with my momentum and stood up. I am getting way too good at that. Dew had soaked eagerly into my jacket from its contact with the grass, and I shrugged it off to heap at the base of a tree. Sneaking out early for some pre-dawn training had been difficult, and was almost guaranteed to land me in trouble, but was depressingly necessary. My chakra control was terrible. It would take me ages to get this, and I'd need to spend every spare moment I had practicing. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 CRK thud. 1 2 thud. 1 2 3 4 bang thud. Stupid chakra. I lay flat on my back for several seconds, gasping and wondering if I was just doing it wrong. That had happened before. I'd get the wrong idea on how a jutsu was done, and stubbornly forge ahead until someone figured it out and corrected me or I got the damn thing to work my way. The bizarre noises Sasuke made when he figured out why it took me so long to learn henge, but I was pretty sure I was on the right track this time. The right track just happened to be a dead end. A faint whisper made me frown and lift my head off the ground. Was that breathing I could hear? I might have passed it off as a random animal, except for the fact that anything with sense had run away from the racket I was making, so it was either something really hungry, which was bad, or human, which might be even worse. Who's there? I said calmly as I stood up and glanced around reflexively, not letting my voice quiver with the thought of who might be out there. Sasuke would only sigh at my dawn training, but I didn't know the rest of my team well enough to guarantee their reactions. The lack of response made my stomach twitch nervously, and I took a couple of deep breaths. Alright then, if you're going to be difficult. The chakra I reached for came much more clearly than usual. I sensed the slow dullness of trees, grassy ripples, and the quick beat of a flitting bird with the sharp clarity of the corners of a page unlike the usual hazy mess. I don't know why, I was exhausted. This should be downright impossible to manage at all, but since I could feel out that chakra source now, I wasn't going to pay common sense any attention whatsoever. It's awfully early to be out, a feminine soft quiet curious female about my age maybe friendly voice remarked from the human chakra source. I didn't think anyone else would be around. I blinked slightly at the unfamiliar voice, settling my weight back on my heels. I thought the same thing. Guess we were both wrong. She laughed softly, a light chuckle, not quite a giggle, as she knelt nearby. Her chakra wasn't hidden, like I had first assumed, just so quiet, almost passive, that until I pinpointed her voice it blended into the background. Or maybe I was just tired, who knew? Are you a ninja? She asked curiously, her clothing shifting with faint rustles. She was probably looking at the destruction my chakra had been wreaking on the nearby trees. Aha! I said cheerfully, tapping the metal plate of my hitayate with one finger. Very faint sound of slipping hair, her head tipping. Is that why you're awake, with the sun barely up? Yeah. I laughed sheepishly, brushing hair away from my face. I'm pretty much the only one out here this early, 'cause I need the practice. Out of my team, my chakra control. Wait, you do know what chakra is, right? I remembered to ask. Not all civilians knew. But I heard her nod quickly, and grinned as I continued. Well, my chakra control is kind of pathetic, really, so I need to train a hell of a lot more to keep up with the others. It sounds difficult, the girl said softly. I shrugged. That's life, I responded quietly, glancing away. If you have to fight for every step, then so be it. That's an admirable streak of determination, the girl commented. Was she fiddling with the grass? I heard her fingers pluck something up, the plant's roots tearing through the damp ground. If you don't mind me asking, what keeps you fighting so strong? It was my turn to tip my head to the side, this time in confusion. What do you mean? Do you have any precious people? She asked dreamily. Who do you fight for? I blinked. Precious people? The people who you fight for, she replied. The people who are your reason for fighting, even when it looks like there's no point. Slowly, I frowned. Well, duh, Sasuke and Ida. Wait, not that last one, but definitely Sasuke, and, well, I always fought for him before, too, right? Does that mean he counts? Nissan would have counted before. I squashed the thought and nodded at the girl, trying to smile but probably failing, the memories she'd inadvertently dredged up making it harder than usual. Yeah. I do, I whispered. Naruto. Hey, Naruto, where the hell are you? I couldn't help the grin as I tossed over my shoulder. Coming, Sasuke. Before turning back to the girl. It was nice meeting you. Maybe we'll see each other again someday. She giggled again. It was nice meeting you, too, Naruto. I wish you luck in your training. It wasn't until I'd caught up to Sasuke and was halfway back to the house for breakfast that I realized I'd forgotten to ask her name. I was terrified. I'd been afraid many times, many more than I could clearly remember, but I had never been so scared as I was right now. A foot brushed past me and I scrambled away from it with a choked back yelp, cracking my head against a wall I hadn't known was there. I knelt in the center of the shrieking noise with frightened tears coursing down my face, hands clinging to my throbbing head, and as something else rushed past me, I bit back a scream and ran, barely thinking to hope whatever few shreds of luck I had would keep me from running headfirst into a fence. Something grazed my arm and I stumbled, my balance long gone. I was so dizzy, falling to the ground with a thump, feeling cold hard sidewalk under my cheek. I was gasping, every breath like a blast of cold against my throat, my head still burned fiercely, and I didn't think it was from the knock I'd gotten when I found that wall. My chest ached, and I dragged in another breath, shuddering with the effort as hot water wet my cheeks. I don't understand. Ice cold pain and red hot fear. I felt a glimmer of something, gasped, shot to my feet and bolted again, the sharp edge of something catching my arm, but I didn't care. I just ran, tears streaming down my face as my chest twisted painfully. It hurt, and my head hurt, and I was so scared and hurt and confused and I didn't have anywhere to go. Stumbling to a halt, I sank to my knees and curled up in a ball, chill wind whispering over my skin as I huddled miserably with my back to something uncaringly hard and quietly sobbed. Who are you? I jerked back in shock and fear, not knowing someone had come close, so close to where I was huddled against something that felt like a tree, at least, that's what I thought it was. I gulped and did my best to glare at where the voice had come from, but if nothing else, the voice was small and young like mine, so its owner couldn't be very much bigger than me. If he tried to grab me I'd beat the stuffing out of him. And why are you here? I swallowed reflexively, dashing my sleeve over my eyes. He, or she, didn't sound upset, just curious. Where am I? The Uchiha compound, the other child replied matter-of-factly. The Uchiha compound? Wow, how had I managed that? The other child, at least I hoped it was a child, stayed silent, apparently waiting for an answer. I had never gotten a good response by telling someone my name, so I avoided that question, consciously or not I have never remembered. I dunno. I was running, and I just ended up here. Maybe it was disinterest, maybe some form of childish intuition, but he didn't ask me what I was running from. He just sat there and stared at me, at least that's what I assumed he was doing, it's what I'd done in his place. I sat still, struggling not to start crying again. I wasn't sure how long we'd been quiet for before my companion said, sounding a little hesitant, "My mom made cookies this morning. "'D'you want some?" I looked up, startled at being offered food, although my stomach growled hopefully. I hadn't eaten since, I bit my lip, hadn't been able to find my way back. I didn't even know how long it had been, I couldn't tell anymore. The sun never rose, the sun never set. It had gotten very cold once since I swallowed, it was cold at night, had it been that long? When you stop and think about it, the strongest friendships are formed by food. Warmth, peace, and the feeling of a full stomach. You've been hurt. This was someone else. Bigger, stronger. And his voice was different, still sounding young, but so much older, so much more that I drew back warily, wanting to be ready to escape. "I'm fine." My voice sounded hollow even to me. How could I do this? What could I do? Should I even do anything? Everything had been turned upside down, the ache in my chest rising in a piercing wave, and I didn't know what I was meant to do anymore. The first child, I was more and more sure it was a young boy, chirped happily, "That's my big brother. He's the best." Meeting the Uchiha brothers, I think, saved my life. Who, me? I'm Sasuke. Nice to meet ya, Naruto. I would never have made it this far without them. Safety. Knowing that someone cared, Tachi and I was probably the main reason no one ever found me out. I mean, a village full of ninja, a blind child, how hard would it be for them to spot it? But they never did. The door slid open abruptly and I jumped, almost falling off Sasuke's mattress, only to be gently pressed down to the floor by a broad hand, guided under the bed by Tachi and I. Tachi and I, what's? Sich. Be still. A faint creak as he sat on the bed, I flattened myself against the floor without question and went silent. Itachi. I went stiff, frozen with horror. We hadn't known Fugaku was home. Itachi, where? Itachi shifted, the bed creaked as his weight moved a little more overhead of me. Itachi, I had not finished. Sasuke interrupted with a peal of laughter and some violent squirming. Tachi and I was tickling him. Aniki, stop it. Itachi. Fugaku sounded, what was the word? Frustrated. Yes, father. That seemed to be Tachi and I's favorite sentence whenever he had to talk to his dad. Itachi, I meant what I said before, Fugaku said warningly, and Itachi shifted slightly above me in the slight pause. Sasuke is not to play with him, do you understand me? I comprehend your words, father, I heard Tachi and I say neutrally, and frowned internally. What did that one mean? Tachi and I always used real big words when he talked to his dad. Good. The door slid open again. Mark my words, Itachi, that boy will prove dangerous. And then the door slid shut. I couldn't hear Fugaku's footsteps, I never could, but I assumed he was moving away. I heard Tachi and I murmur to Sasuke, oh my. A blind 4-year-old. Whatever shall we do if we meet him in a dark alley? Sasuke giggled, and I let out a relieved breath of laughter, Itachi chuckling softly along. For a long time, they were the sole reason I kept breathing. Again. I bit my lip, staring intently into the blackness that would never go away, and the sudden chank made a flinch judder through me before I quickly hurled my weapon in the direction of the sound. There was no replying sound, and I scowled, crossing my arms and ducking my head to hide my miserable expression. I was never gonna get this. Again. Chank. I didn't move. What was the point? This was stupid, why'd I ever thought I could do it? I said again, Naruto-kun. Chank. I flashed him a bitter scowl and threw. Chank. I stiffened with shock, staring blindly at the tree I had just heard the answering sound of kunai meeting wood from. Not one of Itachi's throws, the ones meant to give me a reference, but mine. I'd hit the tree. Whooping, Sasuke nearly bowled me over, and I quickly scrambled away from him. He was gabbling excitedly and almost cheering, he was so happy, and it didn't make much sense to me at all. Sasuke was much better than I was, even at 6, he was a good marksman. Even Tachi and I said so. Grudgingly. If we bugged him for an hour, he sure didn't have to throw 50 times to hit the target just once. But I felt an insane grin stretching my own face all the same, because I'd done it. Maybe I could do this, after all. Tachi and I wasn't just Sasuke's big brother. He was mine, too. Youch! The spoon keeps tipping. You gotta hold it steady. How can I do that if I can't even see it? Tachi and I broke up the impending squabble easily. Naruto, you need to feel the edges of your spoon and hold it horizontally from the ground. That will stop you from spilling the soup. 4-year-old understanding stuttered to a halt. Anwa, a sigh. Warm hands over mine, carefully steering my spoonful of soup towards my mouth. Hold it like that. Keep it level. Ow! Doesn't food go in your mouth? Now, Ototo, be nice. Both of them were my best friends, even if the rest of the Uchiha clan hated me. They were always on my side. I think, maybe, that's why it hurts so much when he turned against us. It's real quiet out here, tonight, Sasuke said nervously, his voice just a little tight with anxiety. I was already on edge, the breeze tugging at my clothing and bringing with it a feeling of inescapable uneasiness that brought a sour taste to the back of my mouth. It took me too long to place the ghost of a memory the wind played with, and I swallowed, the scent bittering in my next frightened breath. Sook. I smell blood. Then darkness. Cold. The smell of blood so thick and choking I'd never forget the scent again. Adrenaline flaring, sharp breaths burning, screams I never wanted to hear, and the shocked, ice-cold pain of something torn apart. I don't understand. Itachi-san, why did you do it? Run, Sasuke. I jerked upright with a stifled cry of pain. It took me a few minutes of frantic tugs to extricate my wrist from the tangled blankets, and my struggles had wound the sheets around my legs in a smothering cocoon that was easier to wriggle out of than unwind. Eventually, I escaped my bed linen and slipped onto the porch, cool night breeze rapidly chilling the sweat on my skin. I was trembling and gasping, air damp and cold against the back of my throat. The rough solidness of wood under my feet and palms was locking me back in the present and the painful memories back in their box, coarse splintery ridges contours of pressure. The wind stopped tasting of blood, my ears stopped ringing with screams. I shuddered, and crumpled against the post on the corner, leaning against it for support as I fought to stop the shaking. Just a dream. Just a dream. Don't lie to yourself, you little fool. I shuddered again, mind ringing with the remembered cutting words, and almost missed the soft scrape of the door behind me opening again. Naruto. I relaxed once more, closing my eyes and looking away from where he had just slipped outside. Swallowing past the lump in my throat, I gasped another breath, the pain in my chest slowly loosening, but didn't otherwise respond. Ruto, you okay? I sighed quietly. Just a bad dream. He didn't say anything, but I could sense the question anyway, and glanced back in the direction of the door with a tired half-smile. It's alright, Sook. Just memories that don't seem to want to stay that way. He didn't say anything further, just moved up to stand beside me on the porch, the wind teasing at our hair. I was calmer now, calm enough that I didn't jump when his fingers lightly brushed my exposed forearm, instead readjusting my weight so that I was leaned on his shoulder instead of the corner Y post. I don't understand. For all he was an Uchiha, Itachi had been part of my family, too. Tachi and I. Despite the common sense that told me he'd never be back to the same older brother I'd known. Why? Why did you do it? I missed him. That's it for part 2. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.